Homer covered the war as an illustrator. After it, he became a recorder of the innocence America is always thought to be losing, a new generation of Huckleberry Finns learning to sail or playing snap the whip down on the farm. His evocation of collective childhood made him the most popular artist of his time. He had no children of his own. He was a loner and never married. Much of the time he worked in a studio on a rocky headland in Maine at Prout's Neck. Its guardian today is Doris Homer, his grandniece. So this is Homer's studio, eh?
Well, yes, this is his painting room, but he also called this his factory.
He didn't like the word studio, too highfalutin, eh?
Yes, I think you're right. And so along here we have reproductions, of course, of things that he did. Of course, he did say that he preferred the fishermen and the hunters, which he found in the Prout's Neck community. He loved the outdoors, and he spent a great deal of time there. And it is said that he would get up at 3 or 3:30 in the morning with his fishing pole, and he put the balcony on this carriage house so that he could watch the ocean and study the rocks.
At Prout's Neck, his great subject was always before him, the sea. It is a field of primal encounter. Homer insists that you are always alone before it, which you are. For him, it's bound up with his rejection of industrial America. The machine enslaves the men who serve it. Only in the woods or on the ocean or on its rocks are we truly free, truly American. He understood the structure of waves, currents, surges, loops of foam, the sheer power of the water breaking over Cannon Rock, its relentlessness and its strange, fickle, yet maternal beauty. The sea gave him his best images of American man pitted against nature, like this Gloucester fisherman on the Grand Banks with a halibut in his dory. Lifeline shows a man rescuing a woman from a wreck. They are twined together in a sort of erotic swoon, the closest thing to a sexual image that the celibate Homer ever painted. The black sailor in Gulf Stream, adrift and dismasted as sharks patrol and a tornado approaches, may be the deepest image of the final loneliness of man and the inevitability of his death, produced by an American artist in the 19th century. In sculpture, it was St-Gaudens who produced America's outstanding image of private loss, after Clover Adams, the wife of the writer Henry Adams, committed suicide. Adams turned to St-Gaudens for a monument. It stands in Rock Creek Cemetery in Washington. It is a woman, but not a portrait of Clover. It bears no inscription. It has no specific meaning. Adams himself said that the interest of the figure was not in its meaning, but the response of the observer, a remarkably modern insight. Like all great artists, he added, St. Gaudens held up the mirror and no more. But America's public culture wasn't introspective. It was bursting with self-confident belief in the myth of the good machine, celebrated in the 1876 Centenary Exposition in Philadelphia. Tireless genii, immense robotic slaves, working day and night to make America better and fill it with products. American cities might be purgatories for the working class, but American know-how created a belief in the technological sublime, the feeling that the hand of man could rival the hand of God in reordering the world. The big example of it was the Brooklyn Bridge, thrown across New York's East River by the engineering geniuses John Roebling and his son Washington Roebling and thousands of American workers. They finished it in 1883, and it soon became as great an emblem of optimism and power for Americans as the Eiffel Tower in Paris, which was finished 6 years later, did for the French, except that it was horizontal and not vertical, and useful, not just ornamental. When later modernists said that the poetry of America was in her bridges, this is what they meant. It is a double triumphal gateway from Brooklyn to Manhattan, from Manhattan to Brooklyn. Linking them, it is a powerful symbol of the unity Americans desired. It is a marvelous demonstration of materials, the solid compression resistance of stone, the old stuff of building, and the fine, spidery, tensile strength of the newer material, steel. Because it was one of the first things seen by immigrants arriving in New York, it became a prime symbol of what America was and what it could do.
This is the work of two engineers who were committed to the contribution that their work could make to the way of life of the city. John A. Roebling's original proposal, he said the bridge will be both a great work of engineering and a great work of art. There's no difference, there's no conflict between great art and great engineering. And there was this sense that if you could pick it up and turn it over, stamped right on the bottom, would be made in the USA. And that was very important to people because it was such a new country and filled with so many people who were new Americans. The world was changing dramatically because of these newfound powers of science and technology, powers hitherto conferred only unto the gods. And you have the sense of this rising, towering, new concept of an urban structure. The bridge represents the beginning of the vertical city.
The technology of the Brooklyn Bridge was prophetic because so many other American buildings, offices, stores, warehouses, were developing an idiom of iron and steel framing, which led to the modern skyscraper. The iron frame building was light. It freed you from dependence on masonry. It came to dominate American cities. But its success depended on another invention, the brainchild of Elisha Otis. If you built your building as a steel frame, you could send it up as many floors as you wanted. No problem. The problem was for the corpulent businessman of New York or Chicago who had to get up to his place of work. And nobody wanted to climb 6 floors, let alone 20. Hence the elevator, a cage on a cable. But what if the cable broke? The nearer you were to heaven, the greater the chance of an unscheduled appointment with the Lord. But Mr. Otis came up with a brilliant solution in the form of a ratchet affair which would jump out and grab the sides of the shaft, if the cable went. Hence the elevator, the most crucial business invention until the computer. It changed everything, including the American skyline.